Welcome to Monthly Review, the show in which I find yet another excuse to talk about male seiyuu, artists, and 2D music. We are back to a busy month of releases with June being really good. Let's check some of those releases. Welcome to another episode of Monthly Review. Basically, it's another month, and this time around we had a couple of interesting releases. Actually, this was one of the best months of the year so far. Not really there with February 2022, but still a really good month that really saved a lot of people some trouble and basically eased the drought in quality releases. So there were plenty of CDs being dropped this month, and many of those were really good. So I'm having a bit of trouble to cover only 3 CDs in this first section, which is to say, Best of June 2022. So I've got my cheat list here in front of me because I do not remember all CDs that were released in June, and I've just reviewed a couple of hours ago some of these CDs actually. So first off, we had Sir Vanity with Ray. So Sir Vanity were hinting a lot that they were going to do something really different for their album, and Ray, actually the remixes in Ray didn't happen to be that dramatic or that drastic. So when you listen to the songs that were remixed or rearranged for the album, which is to say the songs that say album version, you will notice that there were only a couple of things that were tweaked in order to sound a bit better or in harmony with the rest of the album. And that's basically that. As far as new songs go, my favorite out of all is Ray, for how dramatic it is. And once again, Satoru Kuwabara went off with these bass lines and piano combo, which is something that is really nice to find in Sir Vanity songs. There's always a piano and a bass line that are leading the way instead of the guitars or the voice, and that makes their sound much more, I should say, rich and full than any other band that focuses way too much on the vocals or on the guitars. So we have a really strong sound from the background supporting the voices on the spotlight, and in this case Yoshiki Nakajima and Yuichiro Umehara went on to deliver a performance with plenty of head voice, a bit of falsetto, and quite the surprising harmonies going on between them. So really good song, Ray, and the album as a whole sets an interesting tone and showcases what the band can do. We have Sir Vanity showcasing that they can be as versatile as they want. They can actually tackle a wide variety of music genres or incorporate hits and beats from other music genres and make their rock sound or their pop rock sound richer and even more interesting to listen to. So their sound is not necessarily generic, but it is starting to shape up to be something really unique. I'm looking forward to see what the band can do. Sir Vanity's Ray is already a really good start, taking into account that the band debuted in 2020 but were not active in 2020, and then they actually picked up the pace, and now they are in full force releasing music, really determined into making it big. So I'm looking forward to see what they can pull off, and Ray of course is one of the highlights of the month. Then we have Trigger's SUISAI and ZOOL's Survivor. These songs tie up or complete the 5th story chapter that has recently wrapped up in-game. So it is to say that if the game continues to be adapted to anime, there will be a 5th season, if everything goes right. But about SUISAI from Trigger, first off, that's a really unique single. I was not expecting any of that. It is too soft, it is too emotional, it is really gentle, more so than any other song that the group has released before. So it is quite interesting to see that the group is evolving and maturing in a way that is more open to showcasing their fragilities within the songs, something that they did not do in Variant, much less in Places. So it is interesting to see that that vulnerability is being showcased with some confidence. So it is okay to actually have that vulnerability, and the group is showcasing that it is not necessarily all sexy and aggressive and quite imposing in their delivery. They can also have a sweet, softer side. So it is really interesting to find that happening and to see and hear the group evolving with as the story flows. There's continuity in their sound, which is interesting, and there's something really awesome happening on the vocal end. All members are having their own time to shine, and we see more or hear more of harmonies going on between the members, more so than the spotlight only for one person. Surprising for me was to have Takuya Sato helping out or actually leading the way when it came to the ad-libs, and Soma Saito actually doing R&B riffing. Wataru Hatano actually doesn't have any issues whatsoever. He does everything, he's always done everything for the group, so he continues to do so, and he shines in whichever position he's occupying within a song, within a given minute. So as a whole, SUISAI by Trigger is one of the standout releases for how unique, and I will add, different the sound is for the group. So if you are expecting Trigger to sound incredibly sexy and aggressive, you're not going to find that in this single, believe me. The single is drastically different in terms of sound and approach to the music. Not to say that this is a bad single, not at all, it is a really good one, but it is really different to the point that it will take a couple of listens for you to click with it. Then we have ZOOL with Survivor, and this one was the biggest surprise for me because I was not the biggest fan of Einsatz, the first album by the group. I found it to be way too generic, way too focused on catering to the international fans, sounding way too much like K-pop and losing the identity and the identity and the fascination or the unique twist that J-pop music has. So the group was losing a little bit of their identity in Einsatz, and despite having a couple of songs that were genuinely good, the album was, for the most part, subpar and really bad at times. To find the group in Survivor coming with a different sound, which isn't necessarily different, it is the sound that they had by the time they released Poisonous Gangster, which is to say, their debut single. And the group is back to their aggressive rock meets hip-hop sound, which is to say rap rock, rap pop sound that they had when they debuted. And this sound was polished, of course, because the group has grown so far in the several years that they are active within the franchise, and the members have individually grown a lot. Even the seiyuu have developed different singing skills and have polished others. The ZOOL that we now have is a really exciting ZOOL. If this is going to keep up, I would love for that to happen, of course, but I'm pretty much aware that these may be a one-off single to signal the happenings in game. I'm not going to spoil that because most people may not have played the game, may not want to play the game and wait for the anime series, so I'm not going to spoil why that happened, why those changes happened in their sound, and why they are more resolute than ever, more focused than ever, and working as a real team for the very first time. We have ZOOL here with Survivor delivering a fantastic performance, both in the title track as well as No Sacrifice, which is a song that will ask for you to sing along to the chorus and shout, really. I found myself reviewing the song and having No Sacrifice on repeat, so that's already a good sign that the song is good. I'm not the biggest fan of tropical music, but in this case it worked really well with the rock sound that was going on, and a highly aggressive and gritty EDM sound that was in there as well. So Survivor is in a way a nod to Poisonous Gangster, however showcasing how much the group has grown in the past couple of years and what has recently happened within the game that has changed the whole dynamic of the group. It is one of my favorite singles of the year so far, and for sure I will be having one or two songs within the final or end of the year playlist, so be ready for it, because I really enjoyed the single as a whole. It is good to have ZOOL back to a sound that is distinct within the franchise, that no longer sounds like it is diluting their identity or basically faking an identity that they do not have. We have Aoppella with Ace, and this was one of those releases that I believe not many people were paying attention to because, of course, it is a cappella music, there isn't any instrumental behind them, although there is, for example, for Fame, there's an instrumental, however, it is performed vocally. But this is a release that I believe went on to be buried within the wave of releases that dropped this month. I wanted to highlight this one because Aoppella is a really awesome project. I believe that more people should actually check it because this is seiyuu singing without music. And they are actually doing a fantastic job doing that. They need to harmonize, they need to go for those beautiful high notes, they need to perform canons that are not really easy to master, and they need to actually have a really good technique by themselves so that when it is time to shine by themselves, they can do a really good job and not hinder the whole performance. So Aoppella is a project that I love a whole lot and that I continue to find their music to be consistently good. So there hasn't been really a song that I have disliked. There are songs that click more or less with me, but disliking, it's not a word that I would associate to Aoppella's music, either from Lil Happy or Fame. This is already a good thing. Not many projects can or are able to actually have this type of consistency and being really good across multiple releases. So Aoppella is doing that. So highlight for me, it's Fame's Follow Me. I'm a sucker for that kind of music. I said before that I love how R&B inspired Fame are, and I bloody love the lineup for this group. And I believe it is a group that doesn't have any flaws. They are really covering everything they could on the vocal end. And better yet, they have the best singer among male seiyuu in this group, which is to say Toshiki Toyonaga. So, speaking of Toyonaga, he's doing a fantastic job across the board in all songs that Fame is a part of. Is usually the high tenor, so you are expecting him to perform in head voice and a couple of notes or a couple of sections in falsetto. Is mainly in charge of harmonizing with everyone and leading the way as the main tenor. And what you get in Follow Me is something that will make chills or goosebumps all over you, because it's not a normal thing that you would find even by Toshiki Toyonaga standards. This is a crazy good performance, and if you add all other members, especially Takuya Sato, that is doing a fantastic job as a baritone slash bass for this group, it is amazing what they pulled off with Follow Me. It is a song that instantly went for my list of favorite songs released in 2022, and not many songs usually click that fast with me, so it attests to the quality and how groovy that song is. Also props to Daiki Amano and Shugo Nakamura, because they are doing the bass line and the drums with their mouth, which is awesome, and their beat, their pacing, their tempo is so addictive, and it sounds like a pain to perform live, because it's really tricky and it doesn't let much air on to recover for the next beat. So it is really a tiring performance for them, and they did a fantastic job to deliver something that I was not expecting at all. On the other hand, I enjoyed the whole lot Lil Happy's Rainbow. It is a song that, for starters, it has Tetsuya Kakihara as the center, which is not necessarily something that you would expect because he's the baritone within the group, not the lead tenor. So there's something really, really different going on in this song, and you have a warmer, breathier voice leading the way, and Rainbow shines because of that. I believe, at least, that the song shines because of that. I believe across the board, all songs or all performances were awesome. Even the introduction song, Ace, was amazing. You have basically a relay of voices, basically almost like friends taking turns improvising within a song. And the fact that they say, now it's your turn, and your turn, and they are introducing the characters at the same time that they are taking turns within the song, that's really an awesome vibe, and it makes it so that it gets a bit interactive, and in a way it sounds quite warm and fuzzy in the way that they are friends actually improvising to a song, which is really, really cool. So across the board, this is a really good single. I believe it will be underrated because people will be more focused on Hypnosis Mic or even B Project or even Ensemble Stars, projects that have continuous releases and frequent releases, and fans usually are more invested in that. But aoppella, when it appears, it delivers, always delivers high quality. So there's a big difference for all other projects that have released music this month. It's that aoppella has yet to basically make me say the songs were bad. So they are doing a fantastic job and they deserve more attention, and if you can, the song is available on Spotify, or the songs within this album are available on Spotify for you to listen to for free, and I hope you enjoy it. Now we have a release that many of you were looking forward to a couple of months ago when it was announced, and it is Makoto Furukawa's Ibara Rinbukyoku. And this is a dual release. And why do I say this is a dual release? The anime version has a different vibe from the artist version. Although they share the same title track, Ibara Rinbukyoku, they have different B-side tracks. So we have Only Night Crown in the artist version, and we have Sono Yoga Akeru Made in the anime version. And what happens here is something really interesting. The title track usually settles or sets the tone for the single. Within this single, that doesn't necessarily happen. What happens is that the title track is so versatile and has so many elements that the B-side track could pick any of those elements and start from there, and would always make a perfect bridge between itself. Which is to say, the B-side track will always click and sound like a continuation in tone or a continuation in theme, regardless of the music genre, because Ibara Rinbukyoku is a song that is so intense, so complex and so layered on the composition end that you can really do anything when you go to the B-side track, and it will sound still like a B-side or a chapter within a chapter for that single. And Sono Yoga Akeru Made is a song that wraps up the anime version in a really dramatic, intense and melancholic way. It is really emotional in the way the single wraps up, and it makes it so that that version sounds completely different from the artist one. The artist one wraps up with Only Night Crown, which is to say a classic jazz sound in a song that has or channels all the good things that From Fairy Tail had. So it is a really fast and bubbly song, not bubbly in the cheesy way, but really jaunty and perky in the way it develops. The beat is always syncopated in a way that it will make you dance, and you'll find yourself jamming to the contrabass and actually having a lot of fun with the brass and everything that is going on the drums. So it is a really awesome performance, but it wraps up the artist version in a decadent way. While you have actually the anime version wrapping up in a really sad, melancholic tone. You have the artist version wrapping up in a really decadent, intimate tone, which is really different. And when you look at it, both versions have the same title track. Only the B-side was the track that was responsible for changing the mood, or adapting the mood in the title track and make it its own, but with a different output. So it is quite impressive how Ibara Rinbukyoku actually ended up becoming as a dual single, although it is the same single. So I enjoyed the whole lot, the performances in there, and of course Makoto Furukawa is showing a bit more of his vocal range, which makes me quite excited for what he has to offer in the next couple of singles. He's showing a bit of his high range and he's actually doing a pretty awesome job. So another release I would love for you to check is Makoto Furukawa's Ibara Rinbukyoku. And wrapping up this list, perhaps the release I was most excited for, and still this was one that was announced within this past month, which is to say only a couple of weeks between the announcement and its release, was of course Soma Saito's Rakuen. So I'm with a massive grin on my face because I reviewed the song yesterday and I was listening to its high-res version that is available on Ototoy in case you want to check the high-resolution version that almost takes you to the studio, into the studio. Of course you need to have gear that can play high-resolution music, otherwise it's just a normal FLAC file, lossless. I was listening to Rakuen, and Rakuen has, and I've said it on the review that has maybe already been published on the website, it's how it marries Genjitsu from My Beautiful Valentine with Waltz from My Beautiful Vacation, and wraps it all neatly with the vibe of Epilogue. And when I say the vibe of Epilogue, it's pretty much that vibe that you need to focus on. Because while the song goes and picks up elements from various songs within Soma Saito's repertoire, it actually is much more than that. It is a goodbye, essentially. So I was actually discussing this a couple of hours ago. It's how Soma Saito says, well, this is a song to celebrate my 5th anniversary as a singer. And this is a celebration, and you listen to the song and it feels like you are going to attend a funeral. So it is really strange how he celebrates something at the same time that he is bearing that something. So it is really weird, it needs to feel weird, it's Soma Saito that we're talking about, so it needs to feel weird, and actually it is him, it seems like, bidding goodbye to this chapter that includes In Bloom and My Beautiful Valentine, which is perhaps the best chapter, it is his best chapter so far in his career, and one that is flawless so far. And if Rakuen arrives to wrap up that perfect chapter in his career, I'm really looking forward to see what he can pull off next. Will it be in a couple of months? Will it be in a couple of years? We do not know. I'm betting he'll release a 3rd album by the end of the year, maybe December 2022, maybe pushing it a little bit to January 2023, maybe. But he is going to release for sure a 3rd album because he's trying to set a different tone for what is coming. What is coming, we do not know, and I'm actually theorizing here. We don't even know if this song is meant to be an end or an intermission. So it feels like an end. It has a really strong Radiohead vibe from Creep. In the intro, the melody is almost identical, and the way Saito starts singing is almost identical. However, the song progresses into something completely different, and it ends up being really dramatic and really technical, more so than usual. Actually, if you thought that Zakuro in My Beautiful Valentine was technical because the whole chorus is performed in falsetto, just wait until you listen to Rakuen's chorus, in which he performs it fully in head voice, which is even trickier. It's even harder to perform, and he managed to pull that off. And I really want to see that happen or being performed live, because that song is tricky as hell to pull off. The chorus is insanely difficult to pull off. And the way he's breathing towards that part already indicates that he's going to pull off something really strange. And when you get there, you actually understand that yes, he was actually going for head voice. That's why he was breathing in a slightly different way. This is a song that sounds like a final chapter, a funeral of some sort. It's basically Saito bidding goodbye to an era that was really, really good, hence the paradise, that it really went on to be really good, despite how experimental it was. So it was the paradise for him, or the paradise for us. I believe it was more the paradise for us, because we as fans got to listen to a wide variety of music and many music genres that perhaps not many of you were fans of or knowledgeable of, and he now wraps it up with a smile on his face, although he's trying to bury it behind him as so not to hinder what he's going to pull off next. So he's going to leave no strings attached, which is interesting. That's a mindset that may influence the next releases. We do not know what is going to happen from here, if he's going to go the My Beautiful Valentine way, or if he's going to go experimental again and embrace the sounds that was kind of weird in My Blue Vacation. So we do not know what is going to happen here. I would love for a new album to drop and it being almost like an evolution of In Bloom with My Beautiful Valentine. Is he going to pull off that? I believe he's going to pull that off. Now, is he really going to release an album? We'll have to wait. So, a lot of theorizing going on in here. All this to say that Rakuen is actually the best release of the month, easily sweeping everyone off their feet, because it is a song that is mind-blowing, and once again, the vibe should be celebratory, and the vibe ends up being really solemn and dark. So once again, do check the song if you can. It is available on streaming platforms, and if you want the high resolution version and you have the headphones and the digital audio interface that can pull off high resolution music or playback, then do check it on Ototoy. They have the high resolution version official from Sony Music Japan. So that's all from me when it comes to my favorite releases or the best releases in June 2022. Let's check yours. Whoa, which were the CDs you were most excited for in June 2022 and impressed you? We have a couple of participations in here, and one thing I'm seeing here, it's really interesting, is how people are actually pretty excited about ZOOL. We have a comment by Chinchilla. They say Survivor by ZOOL. Don't know how I forgot to include it in my last entry. I've pretty much had these 3 songs on endless loop throughout June. So the other 2 songs would be USA cover by Crazy B and Undead from the Ensemble Stars franchise, and Darkness Night by B Project. I'm going to add a little bit in here with a comment by Seruni. ZOOL, Survivor. I really love the 2 tracks in different ways. Survivor may not captivate me as much as No Sacrifice musically, but I love how atmospheric the lyrics are and how the music is very befitting of the atmosphere the lyrics are trying to convey. As for No Sacrifice, it is hands down the catchiest ZOOL song as ever put out, and I love the way all of their voices harmonize in this song. So, to start off with Chinchilla's comments, because they mention USA cover by Crazy B and Undead from the Ensemble Stars franchise. It is not a franchise that I follow anymore. I'm covering the news, but I no longer listen to the music. USA, if I'm not wrong, is a song originally performed by the idol group The Pump. So it is a cover by Crazy B and Undead. It is Undead, a group that I love a whole lot. quite possibly the only group that I still follow within this franchise, and I do not follow as closely as I did back in the day. But I believe vocally they have the lineup, Crazy Bee and Undead, to deliver a really good cover. Although I do not enjoy the original song, so. Darkness Night by B Project. I haven't heard or listened to the CD so far. The whole Wizards of something, I'm missing the name, and I need to listen to that album. I actually need to listen to the previously released one before I listen to this one, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's a pity that Chinchilla didn't leave any description of what the song is all about, because I do not know what it sounds like. But still, if you can, do check B Project, because although the group or the franchise as a whole has been losing a little bit of popularity in the last couple of years, they have changed a little bit their sound, and some groups are sounding really, really awesome right now, something that they didn't sound like in a couple of years ago. As far as Survivor goes, I see that there is a consensus in the way that ZOOL are sounding really different with Survivor. I believe that Survivor may not click with everyone because it is more rock than pop. For me, it was something that actually clicked when the group debuted. They were the most exciting group for me when they debuted within the Idolish 7 franchise. And let me tell you, I am a massive fan of Trigger, so for them to arrive and easily turn into my favorite group when they released Poisonous Gangster is already saying a lot. The group, however, had a couple of hiccups along the way. I'm going to say hiccups on my side because I didn't like Einsatz. I'm going to assume that Seruni actually liked Einsatz from the way they addressed No Sacrifice. No Sacrifice is a danceable song with quite the strong EDM sound. That's a song that I like, but that I do not like more than Survivor. And that's because I like rock more than electronica. So for Seruni to say that that No Sacrifice was the best song leads me to think that they may have enjoyed a whole lot Einsatz. I may be wrong, but I'm making an assumption from the way Seruni wrote their impressions about ZOOL's No Sacrifice. I love the harmonies. I'm going to agree with you. The harmonies in No Sacrifice are crazy good. That's rare for that group to actually harmonize, and doing so in a way that the crescendos are actually something that you want to even be a part of. It's not a song that you want to sing along to, it's a song that you want to be a part of. It's really different in the vibe. You feel like, especially if you followed the story, you actually feel that the song really sums up really well what just happened within the story and the group's resolve to move forward and do something that I'm not going to say, of course. It's a really awesome single, and I believe that everyone should check it if they have the time. And if you are reading these comments or listening to these comments, you actually know that it's not just me saying that ZOOL released a really awesome single. It's actually plenty more people. Then we have a comment by Naz. Cross a Line from the Hypnosis Mic franchise is my favorite from this month because of the musical variety it provides while fitting well with the characteristics of each division. I particularly like the reggae in Dotsutare Honpo Zenishi, and I am surprised it fits them well. You can also get a Latin-inspired song in Scarface to a lo-fi and very relaxed song that fits a rainy mood in Synchro City. Each song is a very solid addition to each group's repertoire, which makes me highly recommend this album. Yes, I listened to this album yesterday and I was thinking, well, Cross the Line is not necessarily a song that clicks with me. I've heard some people saying that it is the best song within the album. I do not believe so. And it's far from being the best Division All-Stars song. That will be Summit of Divisions. But it is a really cool song. It has a really retro, I wouldn't say retro. I was born in the 90s. That 90s are not retro, right? They are? Damn. But the 90s were a really cool time for hip-hop, and there were influences of funk, of reggae, of disco, of basically anything and everything you could think of. And hip hop really took those influences and made it its own to create what is arguably the best era of hip hop. And Hypnosis Mic usually has a more contemporary sound. However, in the last couple of releases, they have been betting a whole lot on bringing back that 90s sound that everyone fell in love with when they were in the 90s, or that many people still like to revisit. And I do agree with you that Suitare Honpos Nishi is really an awesome song. I wouldn't say it is reggae though. It is ska. Reggae would be really low tempo. This is ska due to how upbeat and perky it is. Still, ska has jazz and reggae influences, so you're not that far off in your description. I was expecting something really wacky to come from them, but it is actually ska, which I was not expecting at all. But after listening to Scarface, that you also mentioned as a song that has a Latin sound, which I was not expecting that, the last thing I would associate with Yokohama would be a Latin sound. I went to Yokohama and that's not the vibe you get from that city at all. So there are the good vibes, of course, and that can come across in several different ways. And Latin music can work. It has a salsa vibe going on in there. It is surprisingly danceable and catchy at the same time, and still is as aggressive as you would want a Mad Trigger Crew song to be. It is a really good balance between aggressive, intense, and in your face, and really melodic and quite laid back and chill. So I do love that song a whole lot. Actually, I love all crew songs, all new crew songs in this CD, which is something that is really rare. I remember in Enter the Hypnosis Microphone, the first CD by the franchise, I was not a big fan of many of the songs, especially Matero, which is weird because I usually like Matero songs, and I didn't like, of course, Buster Bros' song within that album, and in this one I was grooving, jamming along to all songs. It is really hard to pinpoint one that is genuinely the best, because all songs are really, really cool, and within each group they are the perfect continuation of their sound with a bit of maturity going on in there, of course. I'm a bit biased towards Fling Posse and Mad Trigger Crew, although I do love a whole lot how atmospheric Synchro City by Matero is, because it's fantastic. That song really feels like walking alone late at night in Shinjuku. It really feels like that, and it is raining in the background. It feels like everything is passing you by and you are just a bystander watching everything unfold. It's quite haunting in the way the song is presented, and I love how Matero usually pulls off these kinds of songs. I love it a whole lot. And of course we have Fling Posse with Tomari, Get on the Floor. I believe it is the name of the song. I'm going to check because I don't want to say anything wrong in here. Tomari, Get on the Floor. I was right, but I needed to check because I was not sure the song was called like that. I love it a whole lot. I'm not the biggest fan of bubbly music, and whenever Fling Posse have bubbly music, I'm not really up there. Hence, I said I do enjoy Mad Trigger Crew and Matero songs a whole lot. But this time around, Tomari Get on the Floor is a bubbly song with a mature presentation, and the chorus is crazy, crazy good. How high Soma Saito can go, and how high Yusuke Shirai and Yukihiro Nozoyama can keep up with him to create a really awesome harmony going on in the chorus is something that I really love, and I found myself enjoying this album a whole lot, really, a whole lot. I was not expecting to like it this much, but just like Naz said, do check it if you can, because this is a really varied album. It is making a good nod to past releases by each group, however it is presenting their sound in a more mature way, and still bringing forth a hip-hop sound that is distinct between crews and that is evolving as time passes. So do check Cross a Line by Hypnosis Mike as a whole, if you can, because it is a really awesome release. And that's all for your picks of the best releases in June 2022. And now it's time for monthly choice, which is to say the corner in which I suggest you 3 CDs for you to check. These are not necessarily CDs that were released this month. It may be when I play a bit dirty and try to fit too many releases within the same month in an episode, but usually I bring songs that were released a couple of years back or even months ago that I have been listening to on loop. Today I bring you 80 Futabagi's Flawless. This is quite possibly the most aggressive rock song that was released this year by a 2D group or even a seiyuu artist. It is hard-hitting, it is dramatic, it feels like a waltz, but in a really dark and gritty way. The melody is almost danceable, but not necessarily danceable. It is solemn in the way it is presented. It has a really dark, pitch black sound going on in there. And on vocals it is Junta Terashima, who I love a whole lot. So this song is really perfect for me. It is indeed, like the title says, flawless. From start to finish, the rock sound in this song is crazy. I love how we're not playing nice in here. We're actually showcasing rock music as it is. It isn't necessarily to cater to those types of fans that only enjoy pop music. It is really to delight fans of rock music, and I love how this type of music is being catered to us, rock fans, and really showcasing first the love they have for rock music, then that seiyuu can actually deliver power vocals throughout performances that sound incredibly difficult to pull off. Flawless sounds like that because Junta Terashima once again has crescendos going on, has vibrato going on, has head voice going on, is doing a little bit of everything, and even at times is mixing all these things within a performance, adding accents and flares here and there, which is crazy. Once again, I keep saying, Junta Terashima is a really awesome singer. Not many people give him credit for his skills, but do stop and listen to 80 Futabagi's Flawless. Is unbelievably good. It is a song part of the recently released solo CD series in the Enlight Tribe franchise. We're talking about Esmeralda, which is to say the most popular band within this franchise. Usually the project would pitch for at least to kick off a series its flagship band, which is to say in this case Femme, but the most popular band is actually Esmeralda, fronted by Junta Terashima, so it was the first or the band that kicked off these series of CDs, and it kicked off the series. It's such a powerful way that all other singles after it sounded weaker in comparison, although if you listen to those in standalone, they are as aggressive as this one. Still, this was a performance that impacted me a whole lot. This is a song that I have on repeat basically every day. I need to listen to it because it's that good. Hound Roar, Eyes. And I finally got my hands on Hound Roar's Eyes in high resolution, and let me tell you, this song is pure bass goodness. I love how Hound Roar's acid jazz sound goes, so that's a really loungy, classy and sexy sound going on in there, because as we all know, when the bassline is really punchy and groovy as it is for Hound Roar, you usually get a sound that is strangely alluring. And they have that edge to their sound. Then they have beautiful piano harmonies, arpeggios going on in there. They have the drums playing in weird 3/4 rhythms, or even crazier jazz rhythms going on in there. The drums are off tempo most of the times, or sound like they are off tempo most of the times. The guitar is really melodic with a touch of blues in there, and of course the final touch is how sweet Toshiki Toyanaga's vocals sound. Is really sweet for this performance. I'm saying sweet in the way it tackles the performance. So it's not that he's conveying sweetness with his vocals, he's actually conveying a lure, but he's delivering it so softly, so sweetly, that you want to listen to more and more and more. Hence, I'm talking to you about Hot Roar's Eyes, because I'm listening to it a whole lot. And that's a song that is fantastic. It is a pity it's not, or is yet to be available on streaming platforms, and it's really hard to get because it's not even available on Rekushoku or Mora or even Ototoi. So really, as a digital release, it's not a song that is easy to get, so you can only get it if you get the CD. And the song is really off the charts in terms of quality. And to wrap up, I bring Brave Child's Telomere. This is a release that may go under the radar because Joshua is not really necessarily the most popular member in the Dear Vocalist franchise. Joshua, in this case, is voiced by Nobunaga Shimazaki, who I admire a whole lot because he doesn't sound like it, but he is a fantastic singer. You have that, a unique charm and a unique technique going on for Nobunaga Shimazaki. And in Telomere, you have basically a declaration of love, which is to say, Joshua is actually is not hiding it anymore. He's showcasing his love for you, the listener, in the drama CD, and he is going as far as revisiting the past and saying these mistakes and saying how much he grew because of you. And it sounds so nostalgic, especially if you followed the CD, the drama CDs, to listen to this song, because it is summing up everything that's happened up until now, and is showcasing his resolve for the future, which is quite exciting. And at the same time, it is a pure declaration of love, which is rare. It was initially rare in the Dear Vocalist franchise, but with the Raving Beat CDs, it has gotten to be something a bit more normalized within the franchise, with all vocalists being quite upfront about their love for you, the listener. But this time around, I believe that Joshua went the extra mile to deliver a song that not only was upfront about it, but also made sure to be sweet and passionate throughout. It feels like you're right beside him as he sings. It is really, really awesome, the vibe that the song has, and it is fantastic the way the song develops. And both songs actually develop. I recommend you to check the CD if you can. I know that this is not available on Spotify or even iTunes Store, and not even on Ototoi, but you can, using a VPN, purchase it from Rekushoku or Mora. I don't recall which of the two usually works for me, but I'm going to say Rekushoku. If you use a VPN, and you can use your international or your national credit card, it works there. And that's all from my suggestions in the monthly choice corner. Let's check yours. So, your suggestions of CDs or songs to check in the monthly choice corner. We have two suggestions, one by Naz and one by Seruni, and let's check them all. Naz goes in the same line that I was talking a couple of minutes ago to mention Ace by aoppella. Ace by aoppella franchise is a CD that people should definitely check out. It is another strong album that was released this month. I love that these brought a cappella to 2D music franchises and challenged seiyuu to sing in this way. I do enjoy a cappella music often, and hearing seiyuu take it on is a bonus for me. All their voices blend so well together. My personal favorites are Playlist and Follow Me because of their distinct vibes that complement the respective groups. Indeed, those songs are really illustrative of how or what Lil Happy and Fame are all about. Lil Happy have a crystal clear, youthful sound. It is really bubbly, crystal clear, really rooted on how many tenors that group has, because they only have one baritone and is not really necessarily a true baritone and they have a bass that is not a true bass, is necessarily a baritone, so it is a group that has way too many tenors and not enough bass or baritones. So they usually have a higher sound, they have a crystal clear sound, more delicate than Fame. Fame, however, have a perfect balance between tenors and bass, or tenors and baritones. And even if they do not have the same balance on the number of baritones and tenors, they do have several baritones that do dabble a whole lot in tenor range, and they have baritones that can do a natural bass range. So they can cover everything within Fame, which makes them the group that, for me at least, stands out the most, because they are the more complete on the vocal end. Of course, Lil Happy and Fame, as I said before, are two awesome groups, and I love that more people are showing love to a cappella music and aoppella as a project itself, because it's not easy to perform a cappella. Those that can perform a cappella without any prettying up of their vocals and without any music in the background to distract the people that are listening from the weird way they are singing or how bad they are singing, here seiyuu do not have those helps. They do not have any help at all, to say. They are using their voice and the voice stays as it is. The least or the more they can do there in the mixing is to adjust how wet or dry the voice sounds. Usually they will not touch more the voice nor correct it, which makes it so that a cappella music is quite impressive because it is almost the seiyuu raw. That's as simple as that. And I actually am pretty curious if we ever are going to get a live performance, not a recorded video, but a live performance of any of the songs in the aoppella, in the aoppella franchise, because I want to see if they can actually pull off those harmonies. It would be pretty awesome to see if they can pull that off and how it would sound like without sound levels corrected for each vocal, because you need to have into attention that at least, for example, in Fame, Daiki Amano and Shugo Nakamura, they have their vocals a little bit lowered in volume, because otherwise their bass and beat would actually eclipse all the other vocals, because those are more intense than, for example, the tenors are when they are singing. So yes, if you can, do check Ace by the aoppella franchise. It's awesome. It's an album well worth checking out. And Follow Me is a good candidate for Song of the Year, at least for me. Then we have Seruni, and this is the last suggestion in the monthly choice corner. Ito Kento with cover Youth. This, for those that are not aware, it was a special release, a covers album, in which there were several releases by different seiyuu. There was Junichi Suabe, there was Yuki Kaji, and of course Kento Ito, and many more seiyuu that participated in these, and each seiyuu had a theme in which they were performing cover songs. And those songs would fit, of course, that theme. For Kento Ito, the theme was youth, and he performed a couple of songs, a couple of covers of popular Japanese songs from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, or even the noughties. So we have that in here, and this is the release that Seruni is talking about. Continuing the comment, it was released last year in December 2021. I happened upon it by chance, actually, but it has some really nostalgic songs in it, and I love the way it covers them. Given that the theme is youth, especially if you are no longer a teen or a young a kid, it will sound instantly nostalgic. Then, if you were actually a fan of the songs that he covered, and you are now listening to his new version or his covered version, it will sound nostalgic as well. But I do understand what you are saying there. I'm just trying to rationalize what we're saying. But it is a release that is well worth checking out, as it is checking out Junichi Suabe's version. That is a bit more towards love and passion. But for Ito Kento, you have youth as a theme, and knowing how good of a singer Ito Kento is quite versatile. He's a tenor, a really high tenor, but he can do really naturally baritone voice, which is bloody awesome, and he's so skilled across the board as a singer. He can do a little bit of everything that I believe all songs in that CD will, of course, impress. So thank you very much for participating, and this is all for Monthly Choice. This episode is sponsored by all the Hand That Feeds HQ's patrons on Patreon. A big thank you for the support. Now we're getting to the end of the episode, and it is time to talk about music in the horizon, which is to say, the CDs you and I are looking forward to in the next month. And July is not necessarily a good month for music releases. It is quite empty in comparison, for example, with August. That will be quite the intense month. So we have really a couple of CDs here and there, but nothing really fancy, nothing really big, nothing really unique dropping, aside from a couple of releases that I'm going to mention, of course. So one of the releases I'm most excited for is Kagaribi's Noroshi. I'm a massive fan of Dear Vocalist. It is my favorite 2D music franchise. Really close behind is Tsuki Pro and Idolish 7. And I really am looking forward to see what Judah can do with Noroshi, or Kagaribi can do with Noroshi. And seeing as the past release was really an open declaration of love, it was bearing a heart to his loved one, I am curious to see what he can do with Noroshi and what this wolf can actually mean when we get to actually listen to the drama CD. Since I've purchased the physical edition, I'm going to get that physical CD and I'm going to understand what it's all about. Usually I purchase the digital version that is only the songs. So this time around I'm going to have a massive context behind Noroshi and what it is all about and what it reflects in terms of the story that is going on to music. Also curious to see the dynamic between Judah and Shimon or Simon. They are going to be in the drama CD, the second part of the drama CD or the second drama CD, and Simon is actually voiced by Kaito Ishikawa, who I was not expecting would be cast in this project. But seeing how the dynamic duo Soma Saito and Kaito Ishikawa is always in the talks for any project, it was bound to happen, if not here, in other music projects. So, really curious to see how Noroshi turns out to be. I haven't listened to any previews, of course, and I do not know what to expect because all CDs released so far in the Dear Vocalist franchise have embraced an old school sound in the first track and then a really mature sound in the second one that usually is tied to the main story. I'm curious to see what happens here. Then we have Gakuto Kajiwara with Irochigai no Yakusoku. I must admit, I haven't reviewed so far Gakuto Kajiwara's mini album. So, I arrive at Irochigai no Yakusoku with not much to base my opinion on. I'm going to review that mini album first before checking Irochigai no Yakusoku, but seeing how I enjoy how much clarity Gakuto Kajiwara's voice has when he is clean singing, and how unique his voice tone is, because let me tell you, he doesn't have a common singing tone. If you listen to all seiyuu, they almost have a similar tone, despite of course some exceptions that we've talked about plenty of times in here or plenty of times in Seiyuu Lounge. But Gakuto Kajiwara stands out for how unique his voice is really clean, full, and really powerful without making too much noise. It is really, really interesting how his voice works and how he sounds, and I'm looking forward to see what he can pull off with this single. Of course, I'm going to check first the mini album because I'm missing that, but it is still on my pile of shame of CDs to review. And the final CD I'm really looking forward to is Hound Roar's Closer. Once again, I'm a massive fan of acid jazz, and I love Hound Roar, and I'm a big fan of Toshiki Toyonaga, so everything here is up my alley, basically. So I'm really looking forward to see what Hound Roar can pull off with Closer, and if the song is going to be in the same vein as Eyes, that was really sexy but elegant at the same time, or if it's going to go towards a more danceable, intense vibe as Syndrome, for example, or Roar. I'm looking forward to it. I love Hound Roar, and I believe that it is a band well worth checking out. That's all for my picks of CDs in the Music in the Horizon corner. And since you do not have any CDs you are looking forward to, let's jump to the last section of this episode. So welcome to Ask Vanessa, the corner in which you can ask me any questions, otherwise I will be speaking about or talking about Soma Saito yet again, and you may actually have to skip to the end of the episode to actually get any value for yourself if you are not a fan of Soma Saito. So this time around there was someone with a question, so you are safe, we are not going to talk about Soma Saito. At least I believe I'm not going to talk about Soma Saito, but I may talk about him. It is a question by Naz, so I'm going to read it. Hi Vanessa, I hope you're doing well. Half of the year has already passed and we've gotten lots of amazing music this year from 2D music franchises and seiyuu so far. How are you feeling about what we've currently gotten and what are you hoping for the second half of the year? So, we've gotten so far a pretty good batch of songs and a pretty good batch of CDs and performances in this year. I am going to add that February and June were two really good months, and I feel like we have strong candidates for album of the year so far. We have Soma Saito with My Beautiful Valentine, we have Shunichi Toki with Good For, we may have in the conversation maybe Sir Vanity with Ray, Gyroaxia with Freestyle. We're having a couple of interesting battles for album of the year, so that's really good right off the bat. What am I missing in here for this year? Mamoru Miyano announced a full-length album in, I believe, January. The album is yet to be announced when it drops, so Mamoru Miyano is taking way too long to release these 8 albums. I do not know what is happening there, or if it is something that has to do with his schedule, or if he had to align the release because of the Full Metal Alchemist song that is going to feature in the game. I do not know what is happening here, but it is already 7 months later and there are still no news about the album. At least at the time of recording this episode, there are no news about when that album is going to drop. I believe it is going, of course, to drop in the second half of the year, but when, it is really unknown. I'm betting in September, because August is already pretty packed and he would have to really promote that album almost too quickly if he had to release it in August. Maybe it's going to be released in September. Then we are missing a full-length album by Shotaway. Where is it? I do not know. I would love for it to drop by the end of the year, or at least close to Mamoru Miyano's album. Then, where is the third album by Yuma Uchida? I'm also looking forward to that. It is not confirmed, so do not start getting really excited about it. I really am saying what I would love to see the second half of the year, so to make it a full or a complete year for me. And it would be a full-length album by Mamoru Miyano, although we are all pretty much aware that since it has been way too long since he released The Love, this album is going to be basically a best-of with all the singles he released so far and maybe 2 or 3 new songs, so it's not going to be a fully original CD. So while I am looking forward to it, and I hope that this delay in the release actually means that Mamoru Miyano is actually creating a full-length album that is fully or mostly fully original. If he's not creating a fully original CD and is actually creating a CD that is pretty much a best of with 3 new songs, then it's going to be a bit underwhelming. I love Mamoru Miyano, but I do not love that strategy that music labels, especially for pop artists, have of releasing CDs that are a compilation of previously released singles and only had 2 or 3 new songs to justify you paying 3,600 yen, which is a lot of money for only 2 or 3 new songs. So I'm not a big fan of that strategy. I believe King Records is going to go that way, and I do not like that at all. Still, I'm looking forward to see what Mamoru Miyano can pull off, because these past couple of CDs or singles were really genuinely good, so I'm really looking forward to it. Shotawai, I really believe it is time for him to release a full-length album. I do not know if it's going to happen. Same thing for Yu Uchida. He's released so many singles so far, and is really on a good groove that I believe that by the time he's going to hold his next live show, he's going to announce a full-length album, for sure. We have Toshiki Masuda that is on a really good spell, thanks to Midnight Dancer. I believe he's going to release a full-length album before the end of the year. And with these, I'm starting to see my bank account starting to cry. And of course, Soma Saito is going to pretty much release an EP or a full-length album in December. I'm betting that, because he said that he's composing music as of now, and he's working on releasing many more songs this year, which is to say, either those are going to be one-off singles, or he's going to release a full-length album, which could tie up with Rakuen being a single that wraps up an era, or he's going to release an EP, and then he's going to wrap up the era there. I do not know, but I'm looking forward and actually expecting a full-length album by Soma Saito by the end of the year. Same thing for Makoto Furukawa, that is sounding better than ever, is actually expanding his jazz sound and adding a little bit of rock and acid jazz, which is to say a little bit of electronica and funk in here. So I'm looking forward to see if he can release a full-length album by the end of the year. So I am expecting a lot of full-length albums by the end of the year, which is going to make the last half of the year quite interesting. The only one that is confirmed that's going to be released in 2022 is Mamoru Miyano's 8th album. I don't know if the album is going to be released next month or even later, but it's going to be released in 2022 unless it is delayed. So I'm looking forward to full-length releases by Mamoru Miyano, Shotawai, Yu Uchida, Toshiki Masuda, Makoto Furukawa, and Soma Saito. It's going to be a packed year, yes, and we may even have in the middle of it all maybe a compilation album, which is to say a first full-length album, full-fledged, by Jin Ogasawara. And if that happens, it may very well be one of the albums of the year if it includes the 6 singles that were released in May/June. So there's that, and I'm looking forward to see what happens. But I'm expecting a busy last half of the year because there are plenty of male seiyuu, high-profile male seiyuu artists that have yet to release music, although they have announced it, and there are some high-profile seiyuu artists that usually release music with a lot of frequency, but are not doing so this year, which leads me to say that they are quiet because they are working on a full-length album. And then there are seiyuu that hinted that more music will be released by the end of the year, which is to say, at least we need to expect a single to drop by the end of the year. So I'm looking forward to see what happens, and I believe that this year is going to wrap up really strongly. Whether it's going to be better than December 2020 or 2020 as a whole, that's a different thing, but I'm looking forward to this last half to match the quality of that year alone, and actually surpass the quality of the first half of 2022. So I'm looking really forward to what is going to happen in the second half, And when it comes the time, for example, for me to review songs for the review advent calendar in December, I know for sure that some of those songs will be there, and I'm looking forward to actually writing the end of the year features and perhaps mentioning many of those hypothetical, right now, CDs that will drop by the end of the year. So I would love to know what is happening behind the scenes in the music labels of all these seiyuu artists I mentioned, and if they are actually working or thinking on working on new music. But as it is, this is my excitement for the second half of 2022. I do not know about you, but I would love to know. If you can, do leave a comment and let me know what you're looking for the second half of this year, especially which artists do you feel are going to make a comeback or release new music, or which type of music is going to be released. I've said it, I'm looking forward to full-length albums. I'm not looking forward to my wallet basically weeping without money, because many of my favorite voice actors have yet to release a full-length album this year. Some of those, it has been 2 years since they released the full-length album. Others have released their full-length albums 5 or 7 years ago. So I'm curious to see who is going to put new music out, and I'll have to manage my money because it's going to hurt a lot. But yeah, thank you very much for your comments and questions asked. And that's all for this episode of Monthly Review. This was a talk about June 2022's releases and a little look at July 2022's releases, and even further down the path to the end of the year. So this was all for me, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and found new music to check, in case you haven't checked it, or in case you have already checked many of the songs or all the things I mentioned. Do leave in the comments something that I did not mention and you believe would deserve or deserves the spotlight for other people to actually find it in the comments and actually go there and listen to it and support the group or the artist you're talking about. Many of the things I talked about, you can find the reviews on the website, so do check handthatfeedshq.com for more reviews, insights, and everything you need about male seiyuu and 2D music. And that's all from me here. I'll see you next month. Thanks for watching.